So, okay, again, second part, 16 of July. So, we are talking about the Epstein files. So, what could happen if all these people that is in the Epstein files, yeah, he's prosecuted or not, or they have the chance to go to court, or there is a kind of dodge speed up, let's say, informational situation for checking, fact checking, and all this sort of stuff, then to, I don't know, regulate who is in power, who has this ideology. Because obviously, if you have, let's say, a grown adult doing pedophilia, taking advantage of poor people, uh, poor girls, and minors, and using them, abusing them, then leaving them, as sometimes you could see in the documentaries. I saw, I think, the first chapter or second chapter in Netflix, the Epstein Files or something like that, that documentary. And if that is the situation of many, then these people in power, we can say that they don't give a damn for anyone. If they are capable to do that to someone, they don't give a shit for anyone. And yeah. So if I'm capable to, yeah, to take someone, use it, abuse it, leave it, without caring about her future, I mean, just because I want to satisfy myself for a few seconds or something like that, then you, you can think that this person uh, knows about how to use power so much that they think that they can go away with anything. So then they can go away with murdering, they can go away with sending an army, they can go away with creating situations in which they create wars. They can instead, they can go away with situations in which they could magnify problems and create more problems. So whatever could be done to them seems to be small, and then divert the attention to things that they consider to be bigger and more important. Yeah. So then let's say the excuse of, oh, it's war, we are in war. Then yeah, during war you can justify anything. Anything can be justified through war. Yeah, and that's at least what these voices sometimes say. So let's see what that develops. But imagine this is this, let's say during every single war, let's say you will have armies coming into town, shooting, bombs falling, shortage of resources, shortage of shelter, hygiene, the conditions that will be deplorable, and you will experience a constant daily struggle for survival month after month, and it puts you in a situation that you have never experienced before, because usually you grew up, or we all grew up in kind of more stable societies that are not conflict related. But when you are in a daily struggle in which war is related, then your brain switch to a faculty that is human, that is the kind of flexibility that humans also have. Then this is to say, we are back in nature, in the jungle, in which we are hunting. We have to protect ourselves to be not bitten by a snake, or to not be eaten by a lion, or maybe a rhinoceros coming from the back and killing us, etc. So yeah, and we have to take attention to, I don't know, the kids, wife, I don't know, the family, the elderly, and we have to always be paying attention that nothing will happen today. So we kind of turn on that instinct in which we are super flexible because maybe okay, we run out of that's the we run out of food today, so we gonna move to another place that we don't know what is it. We take whatever we have with us, we put it in the back of our animals, and we move somewhere else until we find a place to again settle and again consume everything around and yeah, depleted, then continue moving. Yeah. So this kind of flexibility that we're gonna go to places to rediscover. We don't know what's going forward. We need to survive in this way. We don't know another way. Used to be a primitive way before the cities started, before uh, we have agriculture. Yeah, but this does still in human nature. And every time it is activated in modern society, it gets activated during wartime. Is day after day, people who has no uncertainty that still yet somehow organized in the daily struggle for survival, and they with little resources and fighting wars, etc. Because we are flexible, yeah. But let's say, don't you think that we humans, have the flexibility to accommodate it simply all the Epstein list people is kind of prosecute. So let's say they go at least to an examination. First there should be first there should be a reason why a person is there, and it's not simply because someone else says that. There should be an evidence. There should be a testimony. There should be cannot become a witch hunting, yeah. But there are mechanisms in which it's possible to know what's going on. Why? Because if these people is in power first, they will prime themselves over anything. Yeah, anything. Yeah, they will prime themselves over everyone. Yeah, remember, this is people who do not care about others who have not even developed their consciousness to the point in which they could cause harm to anyone. So this is people who abuse others, knowing that they can take advantage of them because they're not gonna retaliate, they don't have the means to retaliate, they are vulnerable, and they satisfy themselves in the most brutal manner at the cost of others' future, at the cost of creating trauma, at the cost of uh, leaving a scar, yeah, in the soul. So then we have to remember the mindset of these people, most likely kind of psychopaths, people who definitely won't give a shit for anyone. And if these people is in key situations, key, let's say, positions in which they can be blackmailed, then that blackmail will definitely be used for other purposes, but those of justice and those of what the people want. And if this, one of the situations in power is that if you can blackmail anyone and you can use it just to get more power, then you will use that because you are power hungry. Yeah. And some people, will use that in a Machiavellic way. And let's say, yeah, Epstein, might have used that kind of situation because he received, apparently there is a lot of evidence, or let's say there is a lot of information outside that he used to receive over $1 million donations, half donations, payments, of multi-million-dollar payments from other people, but in exchange of what or why he will receive this kind of payments. Maybe he was already blackmailing some of these persons, and if that list exists, that list might be used for blackmailing. And who has the list? Who has access to that list, and how that list could be used? Because now Donald Trump is trying to divert the attention. In one situation, he said that list is boring. Just recently, that list is boring. Don't even pay attention. Like, it's so boring that I won't even tell you anything because you might fall asleep. Yeah, who wants to hear who are the powerful people, pedophiles who actually are taking decisions for the country? Who wants to hear that, you know? And before that, he was saying something like, this kind of dismissive rhetoric. This is not an argument. This is not something that takes you to a rationalization in which your reasoning makes sense of it because it's logic. No, the rationalization happen not because there is reason in it, but because it kind of clicks and adjusts without logic, but creating an excuse that is simply unsustainable. Yeah. So he was saying something like he used a rhetoric device like, "Oh, you always talking about that list. We always talk about that guy. Like, get over it." That is to say something like, "Okay, you gotta get over, yeah, the overcome the idea that there is powerful pedophiles in the society ruling, making decisions for you. Yeah, like you have to get over it. Yeah, we have been talking about that too much, and I think yeah, this situation about the Epstein list and all that thing was part of his campaign. I think so. So I think uh, yeah, terrorism, according with Henry Kissinger, is the doctrine of the West in his book, The World Order. So then myself, I see that I am a victim of that kind of doctrine because they try to mind control me, but they couldn't, etc. Blah blah blah. And I could understand why this can happen, why cannot happen. I know that things can be better, but since that power is so angry of greed that if we don't redirect the system in a situation in which we use enforcement of violence for righteous ways, we're gonna end up with a huge World War III, or otherwise we're gonna end up with an AI kidnapping and controlling everyone, as is happening, or as sign being experienced that the AI has the capabilities. And technically, yeah, I'm able to record this, but believe me, no one watched these videos because I'm shadow banned. So maybe is someone something in exchange of something that whatever keeps me or allows me to allows me to live, because for some reason I have now been killed. But because they couldn't control my mind, maybe also they couldn't kill me, but there were several situations in which I could have died. Several, more than one. Okay? And Also, I don't talk about much about this, but I have no suicidal thoughts whatsoever. It's not my nature. My nature is to live, to discover, to go outside. Yeah, there are so many reasons to live. But this AI has been pushing suicidal situations, thought, etc., for a long time. But it's not. I mean, it's something that I have to deal with. But at the same time, it's not my nature. So then remember, I did not commit suicide. So it's not my nature. So yeah, it's not what I want, and it's always what I say to people that I know that I met, because it's not never I consider that. I could have considered before being killed, not give them the pleasure that they will kill me. But it's not me saying, oh, I don't want to live. Oh, it's not worth it to live. No, no. So this AI pushes. Just recently, there was a kind of update. Just a few days ago, maybe 4 days ago, or something like that. It was a kind of update in which it can beam more complex phrases. Right now, it's modifying my speech, accent, not allowing me to talk certain things, to some punishments. But most of the day, it can just start to be phrases in my brain that I kind of pronounce, like you hearing your own voice pronouncing things, but it's not the way I normally think, because I will only think in that way when maybe I'm writing, but talking to myself the whole time is something that the AI kind of triggers, and it's myself talking in the AI. And also you will see that a lot of people with schizophrenia, a lot of people with psychosis with those diagnoses have several symptoms that are that are related with the DSM-5, but when you check the literature of mental illnesses as schizophrenia, before even they have the name, but you can recognize that is psychosis, the literature of that, let's say, situations of people being mad will depict people who will behave, describe thoughts, describe situations that were super far apart of the experience of every single person. I mean, it's not the crazy person that goes in your town just screaming, kicking, insulting, as you mainly see. No, no, no. In the old days, they will describe super bizarre stuff, but the most bizarre stuff that you could imagine. And these these situations will always, or at least it was very interesting to see that these bizarre situations will develop in, I don't know, say someone painting a home, creating draws everywhere with shit, I don't know. And another person, yeah, nothing necessarily violent, but other person describing fantasies that will be mind blowing. The situation of people uh, hurting themselves, uh, like Van Gogh, things like that. But nowadays, yeah, this seems to be different, but it doesn't mean like the police, deep state, secret service, whatever, is that shit that can control that. It doesn't mean that you have to push the people in that way. But there are definitely differences that will start to pop out pre the technology and post the technology. So yeah, so you eliminate these people, or not eliminate this. That was the wrong choice of word. But if you eliminate their social roles as being in power, or let's say you take them because they go to court, whatever they have to pay, they pay, or they are honored because even being in the list, it was proven that they did nothing wrong, then you will have a reaccommodation of social values, social morals in a snap of time, and then you will use the kind of flexibility of that human nature can use during wartime. Yeah, not the kind of flexibility in which you exploit others because it's war. No, actually, you create the conditions in which you start to create a righteous society. So, and if you can do a righteous enforcement, then believe me that you won't have demoralized fighters, you won't have a demoralized society, but you will have a kind of group working together rather moralized. And this is technically moralization is, the why the Spartans in the movie 300 won, but also in the Art of War of Sun Tzu, they always talk that doesn't matter how big is the other army. If you have an army that is moralized and the other one is not, then they're gonna lose. And remember, the Nazis were the one with the biggest, uh, uh, the what floated planes, faster tanks, better techniques, better encoding communications, but they were demoralized. Initially, they were moralized, but the moralization came. Oh, we invade Poland. No, like moralization was like we are German, we deserve better. We have a leader that tell us that we deserve better. So it's like a make Germany great again, and then we people start to invade Poland, and Poland it was like oh we're gonna grow as an empire. This is honorable. This is this make us proud. Then Austria, and it's like, oh my, we can win over every single country. Then they invade the Western Front, and everyone was like, oh, what the hell? Time to fight the Nazis, yeah. And the other people was moralized, and the Nazis became demoralized as they start to realize, oh shit, war is actually one of the most terrible things that could happen during a human life. War is probably the most terrible thing can happen to a human whilst he's alive. They start to realize that, and then they start to think what we are fighting for. And maybe they saw the movies of Hitler with Eva Braun, and they maybe knew that Eva Braun was 17 years old, a minor. So they will think, okay, what is Hitler doing with a minor? And I'm here, I don't know, in a bunker, killing people that I don't know, and people don't know me is trying me to kill. So this feels really bad. I miss to be with my family, even if we didn't have much bread. I don't know, 10 years ago, I had a home, I have a place to go, and I don't know, I have a girlfriend, I have my colleagues, everything. So yeah, it feels good. We did the wrong thing, and yeah, the propaganda that was used at that time will have brainwashed them, and people will be mechanized. So people was following the rules and the manuals of what they were doing. And we might be in a similar situation because we are creating a kind of bureaucracy that is not following the manual, but is more like following the whatever the AI guide us, because the prompt seems to not change, and the prompt is not human center, but it's more economic center or power center or war center. But at the end, it's not human center. Yeah, and I know that because there is no reason whatsoever I will be punished every day. They don't allow me to sleep more than 7 hours, and the times I've been sleeping 7 hours, let's say in the last month and a half, maybe 2 months, have been, yeah, at least 2 months. In the last 2 months, I sleep 7 hours, I think 4 times. Yeah, the most, not five. And the most of the time, I'm sleeping around 5 hours, sometimes 3 hours. Yeah, and it. I tell you, it's the kind of technology that some military will know that wakes you up when you need it and puts you to sleep fast when you need it. And this will be true in the future because it will be known. It will be known even if I'm alive or not. The military will say, oh shit, this guy knew all the technology that we are experiencing right now, the technology that make us feel, the technology that make us have more oxygen, the technology that make us feel more or have more endurance, the technology that make give us more energy, all through electromagnetic means, the technology that put us to sleep, that wake us up, yeah, all through electromagnetic means. Oh, this guy knew about it because he was experienced, but that guy was used with the intention to create a terrorist attack that failed because they couldn't control his mind. Yeah, I'm not saying that they cannot control my mind. I know that they could exert, let's say, so powerful means that it will be unbearable for humans because I felt them for few seconds or microseconds. Yeah, and I know that that is impossible to. Uh, I know that it's impossible to resist that. Yeah, and I know that it's impossible to endure so much pain. So maybe, yeah, you have to be in a situation. I don't know, but even if they apply that kind of pain to me, yeah, yeah, I think they would likely be end up killing me. But me killing myself, I don't think so. I'm not trying to challenge them, but I know that simply the pain is the pain for which your nervous system was designed to have a peak. I mean, your nervous system cannot create more pain simply because it's physically impossible to create more pain. And that's how it feels. Yeah, and it's terrifying. Of course, it's terrifying. It's a lot of pain. A, a taser, that must be a piece of cake. Yeah, a taser. If I'm hit by a taser, I'm sure a taser is not frightening as this kind of the pain that is produced by this technology. Yeah. So yeah, and I tell you, I have only experienced it through microseconds. And the first time I experienced that was in a nerve in my back in 2014, and in 2013 I experienced. It was around 2013, probably the end of 2013. Yeah, I experienced, yeah, convulsions. They wouldn't be as painful as when they apply pain directly in your nerves. But, well, okay, I think I spoke about that in another videos. And yeah, I think I will leave it there for the second part. But let's talk about paying attention how, yeah, this again, the distinction between Zionism, the IDF, Hamas, and the civilian population is important because you will have Hamas will recognize that there are civilians, but Hamas do not recognize the state of Israel, obviously not the IDF, and because they do indiscriminate attacks on civilians, then that's why it's a terrorist organization. Palestinians are the victims as civilians. Palestinians are discriminated, harassed, and they endure uh, an everyday difficult situation in their own land, living in Israel, and uh, so it must be a kind of uh, sad existence. Mm, Seems that if you are a young person or you are in an Israeli harassing Palestinians in Israel, then seems that there is you can go unpunished for that. I mean, it's like to be a Palestinian in Israel is to be a subhuman. And okay, when we have the IDF, we have to remember that by law, every single every single Israeli goes to uh, the army. So then the IDF, the structure of Israel, it makes technically women and men to have been participants of the IDF, unless you're ideally there will be situations in which they cannot go to the IDF, maybe because of religious uh, beliefs or things like that. I don't know if you could be a Palestinian living in Israel and going into the IDF. So, well, at least in Colombia, I think it doesn't matter if you are indigenous and they put you into the army, that you go to the army. If you are Catholic or you are atheist, you can go into the army. It's a different situation. Think in Australia as well, regardless of what is your background, you can go to the Australian army. So I don't know if that's the situation there in the IDF, but then in the IDF also we have to remember this is young people who enters to an army. This is people who start to discover life, or when they just have start to live childhood, and they have not lived childhood, they start to experience another kind of life in the IDF. And that's why you see a lot of young people, young women, young men doing things that would have been, or that are seen obviously as despicable, but we're still talking about kids doing uh, uh, kind of cruelty acts. Like, I don't know, sometimes you will see some stuff in social media in which, okay, these people are soldiers, but remember that they are young. Most remember as well that before that, the August crisis, in which there was the attack of Hamas, I think was the 16th of August, I can remember. Let me check the date. No, sorry. October 7th. Jesus Christ. Uh, that's me, okay? I'm not a historian. I cannot follow all this. I consider myself rather a social scientist, but and as I said, I did not prepare this. Okay, but this is the 7th of August. Yeah? I know that this, and precisely this is the thing. I know that they bumped that as the 9/11 of Israel every single day and so on, and that's maybe why I don't pay too much attention to it. So the October 7 attacks, before that, they were huge protests in uh, Israel, yeah, and this protest, and when I stop like that, it's because the AI wants to push another name, another word, so I have to not I have to stop this AI to put some bullshit outside. So the October 7 attacks start just when Netanyahu is facing the most difficult protest of his entire political career. Yeah, Netanyahu is facing political turmoil, and most of Israel is on the streets. And when I mean most of Israel, is most of the people that has been in the IDF already, conformed by reservists, etc. Yeah, I'm not talking about the minors because the minors are not already in the IDF, and whether they are protesting or not, yeah, they cannot vote yet. But in the well, and if they can vote, they will go to the IDF because by law you have to be doing your military service in Israel. Yeah, but most of the people is out in the street protesting Netanyahu, and these are huge protests. And nowadays, those protests, I mean, these protests have not stopped, yeah, since there. So we can talk about a war against Palestine that is ongoing, but we can talk another side of the story that is an ongoing protest against the leadership of Netanyahu, yeah, which has been even longer than the October 7 attacks. But one thing to remember is that the persons leading this protest against Netanyahu are ex-militaries, are part of the IDF, or they had been in the IDF, and I mean, they know what they are protesting. Yeah, this is these are ex-militaries, okay, and they are doing it for a reason because maybe they disagree how the IDF is being managed because they maybe experienced something else or they have experienced precisely that and they disagree with because the IDF ex-members or the leadership of these protests were precisely ex-militaries. Yeah, so we have to keep that in mind, and that's very important because we talk about already Hamas, the Palestinians and civilians, and the IDF. Yeah, the IDF that is part of the structure of Israel. But that will bring a distinction. What the hell is Zionism? Myself, I don't know what is that. Yeah, I might go into that at some stage, but it seems to be very confused, very shadowed. It's not cut clear for sure. Zionism is not a doctrine that is cut clear because it's like something like Israel is their state. Okay, Israel, that is your state. You're still expanding. When do you stop to expand? Is actually Zionism a continuous expanding doctrine? Or well, well, why does that need to happen? Yeah, I mean, the Jewish deserve a place in history, a place to live in peace. I do believe the Jewish people also deserve the memory of the past, because it's not only World War II, it's before that. There is a cyclical thing happening. But the Jews as well, precisely for that, deserve the best leadership, because precisely we have to avoid that anything like that happened. And sometimes the extreme form of reading certain religious texts or things like that culminate precisely in, in that kind of situation, that we are the chosen ones, you are not. That creates an out group, an in group, and if you make believe the in group that the out group is bigger, then you can lead that people to attack the out group, whether the out group is bigger or not. Yeah, we have seen the defense minister, Yoav Gallant, in October 9 in 2013, say we are fighting human animals and we are acting accordingly. So yes, he announced a complete siege against them, and the siege continues. This was in October 9. So we are fighting human animals. There are no humans anymore. Human animals. So an animal, you can do whatever you want to an animal. So let's dehumanize first, because this is gonna be unhuman what we're gonna do now. That's a kind of, let's say, lecture. I mean, that's a kind of reading of the statement, a kind of the analysis of the discourse. Then, let's say, Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu, October 28, 2023, televised address citing the Bible, said, "You must remember what Amalek has done to you." So this is a kind of biblical reference that was used in the International Court of Justice as an incitement to genocide against Palestine. Deputy Knesset Speaker Nissim Baturi, sorry, I'm not pronouncing the names properly, most likely. I don't know how to pronounce it. Well, okay. We have no common goal, erasing the Gaza Strip from the face of the earth. We have one common goal, sorry. That's the, yeah, it says, we have one common goal, erasing the Gaza Strip from the face of the earth. This kind of Freudian slips are not Freudian sleep, believe me, I know how to read. I read a lot. But as I say, in this area has become more difficult to, let's say, perceive for humans, more um, difficult to control. It's quite complicated. So, well, Deputy Knesset, we have one common goal, erasing the Gaza Strip from the face of the earth. Heritage Minister Amichai Eliyahu dice, suggested dropping a nuclear bomb on Gaza as one of the possibilities in the conflict. He is part of the Netanyahu's office, so we have people in the Netanyahu's office saying that they should drop one of the most powerful ever created weapons in history to destroy it. The Palestinians who, well, I think they are not fighting with tanks or anything like that, or planes. I think they don't have planes or tanks. I think they have never had planes or tanks. Okay, and they are thinking to drop a nuclear bomb to them. Uh, Again, I'm not justifying Hamas, but this might bring you another perspective. Not saying that I'm right, but I'm trying to put maybe another perspective based on facts, based on comparisons, which this exercise is difficult, especially for people who has placed their identity defending only one side. And I know it hurts the identity because uh, precisely uh, you are doing what you believe is correct, and finding contradictory information contradicts your identity, and that feeling is also normal. But then yeah, it comes the situation in which, okay, if you want to learn, you have to be predisposed to change your mind. It doesn't mean that you have to change your mind, because you can take that information and never leave it, and you continue critical analyzing that through time until you get to a conclusion. It doesn't mean that you reject it, you say no, but you take it, you hear. You hear first, then you take a decision. And from hearing, taking a decision could take years. And this is important because, again, the culmination of the AI race is the hijacking of every single human. So if we have an army using this technology, first the army itself gonna get hijacked. Yeah, as you as a soldier, where you are asked or not, this technology gonna be used upon you, and then it's gonna be used against your own population, and it's because it's war, then it's gonna be used against whoever is considered an enemy. And I'm not an enemy. Believe me, I've never done anything illegal here in Australia, not against society. There is a reason why they don't take me to court for anything. Yeah? If I done anything wrong, they might tell you maybe if after I die, they might tell you, or they will come out with some bullshit, and then I state in this video why they did not bring that bullshit when I was alive. Yeah, but it's precisely because there is no way they could blackmail. Yeah, and I also always take care of uh, doing the things right. I'm not a person who always have done the things right, because maybe they have been one or two mistakes, three mistakes, but that's part of being human. But I have never done anything serious. Uh, I have not ever done, yeah, anything in purpose. Not, uh, let's say, I have not been in a situation in which, uh, yeah, I will uh, hurt someone in purpose or anything like that, because I feel pleasure, because I want that person to be dead, because that I want that person, I don't know, to I want revenge against that person. I've never been in that situation because it's not how my mind works. It's not how my feelings work. Yeah, and, and yeah. So if this situation, okay, if this technology has been used upon me before I became a permanent resident, whilst I was here a student, an immigrant student, then I wonder if this has been used in another immigrant students, and why. Yeah. Also, then it is important to solve this, because I mean, we are in the most difficult, let's say, times for humanity, because it's likely that humanity will perish in the future, precisely because we are a kind of a system that is using AI, one of the most technological advanced machines or tools for the most primitive dynamics, and these primitive dynamics come from the part of our brain that have the reptilians, which is the primitive brain, the reptiles, not reptilians. I don't believe in reptilians, Illuminati, or anything of that bullshit. Yeah, but I think that's precisely I was able to break from that spell because I don't follow conspiracies. But so you have the reptile brain. So if you open up the brain of a reptile, you will see the nut that humans have in the middle. So it's the one that tells you fight and flight, and yeah, reproduction and that sort of stuff. Yeah. And so that's the way in which it's easy to, let's say, control a human or not, because the superior layer of the brain controls the reptile brain. If some people cannot control the reptile brain because of the upper layers of the brain, then these people will be more likely to be manipulated, something like that. And if we create a system of manipulation, we're gonna develop again the reptilian brain. And if we are using our reptilian brain for making decisions outside, because to do complex decision making, in which, let's say, oh, we're gonna teach the society how to be more conscious. We're gonna teach the society how to be more critical thinkers. We're gonna teach the society that they should never sacrifice their free thinking. We're gonna teach the society that they have the right to do whatever they want, to the point that they won't damage other ones. It's like your madness stops when it starts to damage another person, or it starts to, let's say, uh, yeah, create a negative effect in others. Yeah. So then you have also a kind of golden rules, or kind of the golden standard of human relations. Don't do to the other what you wouldn't like to do or to be done upon you. Don't do to the other that what you wouldn't like to be done upon you. So uh, we have already all the philosophical tools to create not an ideology but a framework that is human based. AI in the long term won't care about religion, because if you train an AI based on religion, there are many contradictions in every single sacred text. And AI also will misinterpret that, and we have also the, the Kantian philosophy. You know, Kant was not always right. It could be seen that he was a kind of racist as well, and let's say he was one of the persons who will love the human source. He never left Germany, but he will talk about the people who will he thought were not humans, who they will bring from the human source. And uh, he was kind of racist, but believe me, he never went abroad to see how those people that were kidnapped live. And but Kant came with the Kantian imperative, which is also the conclusion that when there is no moral conclusion, that will be always moral in every single situation. Let's say if I say I should not kill, then if you put that statement through infinite situations, you find that in some situations you should kill. Let's say someone will press a button in which that person gonna kill the whole humanity, and there is no way to restrain that person, to avoid that the button will be pushed, and there is no way in which the person, I don't know, you will put it to sleep, and there is no way you will be able to save the life of that person, and whilst avoiding that the button will be pushed. But the only way that you have is to kill, because you are too far, and maybe you need to shoot, and etc. Blah blah blah. You find that I shall not kill doesn't apply in that situation to be the morally right decision. Yeah, and we know what Kantian philosophy, which is a statement, or let's say it's a philosophy partly, depending on what you look at, that is apolitical. This is not related with politics. Another kind of apolitical philosophy is Hegel, yeah, which doesn't, it could be used for political. Let's say Hegel it does not deal with politics, it deals with reality, and Marxism took that philosophy to create the critic of, well, Marx, the critic of capital, and then, yeah, communism, etc., the Communist Manifest, etc. It doesn't mean that Hegel is communist, yeah, so it's totally the opposite. That's why maybe, let's say, China is able to have always more tools regardless of whatever situation they want to use, because they, I mean, people, um, when you take the roots of communism that are based in a philosophy that try to discover reality, then communism has already the tools to discern what's real and what is not real. China set one of the first, even before the CCP took control, they already had studies of Marxism, which eventually have roots in Hegel, etc. But that's another conversation. So we were talking about this moral imperative, and also AI wouldn't care about the Bible, because the AI knows that, yeah, one phrase doesn't apply for all situations, one moral rule doesn't apply for all situations to have the outcome that is desired with that moral rule. And we have a situation in which terrorism and AI doesn't mix well, simply because we most likely need a situation in which leadership needs to take really complex, uh, let's say, oh, this is not about, let's say, terrorism is a kind of easy doctrine, because you just say we're just going to fight terrorists forever. Yeah, but then if you take more difficult goals, like, okay, seems that war, the nature of power, and leaders that want to take advantage of power would like the society to be more unconscious. They will prime loyalty over effectiveness. They will prime submission over critical thinking, etc. Then it creates, in the long term, bad decision making powered by AI, whilst the whole society becomes less conscious. And if we see that problem, then we will see, oh shit, we need leadership that instead will complicate the things, because we are solving complex things, and that will require not a straightforward solution, but a more difficult kind of logic that it seems initially counterintuitive, but as we educate society, and as society is educated, and as we humans get more enlightened, then this counterintuitive logic do not become counterintuitive, but become a habit. making intuitive, straightforward logic kind of repulsive, because not everything can be like a, oh, the Epstein link is boring. If it's boring, me liking me liking pleasure, then it's not what I want. If the Epstein list is something that we have talked a lot, then because we have talked a lot, even if this is not solved, then it's not important anymore. Then we don't pay attention to it. Then we forget about that straightforward logic, but it's more like a critical situation that can be done in many other situations. Yeah, and it requires kind of leadership in which people is not only steered, but people have the opportunity to be taught. But also, here comes the great problem. Not everyone is there to teach, and not everyone is there to hear. Yeah. Yeah, what happened with the person who wants to go to work, come back to come back to their homes and watch TV, I don't know, watch Netflix and have a beer. There is nothing wrong with that. Yeah, uh, that I wish I could do that. Uh, but but what happened with the person who will never do such thing because it is a kind of compulsory education that your duties are also to always be watchful, critical thinking, of power, to and to participate in the kind of mechanisms that will be created in the future for you, and you being a more conscious citizen who has free a lot of time because you don't have to work given as much given um, AI and the overproduction of goods, then also having spending your, I don't know, first 2 decades in school not learning things for the economy, but learning things to be a good citizen, a good human, a good member of the community, and then you will be able to decide, uh, maybe, yeah, I, I I want to commit to my duties as a citizen. I want to commit to what is best for whatever system is this one, and I have to be watchful. And it is in my best interest to keep doing it, and it's in my best interest to we all as a group take that as we as is part of us as a culture. Yeah, it's part of us, because we know that if we stop to do that as humans, then yeah, advancing AI for the purposes of war again lead us to a situation in, yeah, as pedophiles in power, people killing, I don't know, sieging, people killing kids. I don't know, it's like 5,000, what, 50,000 kids dead in Palestine, 80,000, I don't know. It's just mind blowing, yeah. So I was reading that we are in the levels of war are as in 1946. In 1945 is the year in which Second World War finished. So we are 1 year after Second World War. If we go 1 year backward, we're gonna be at Second World War violence levels. So this is something to think. We have just been increasing the levels of war. We got the war in Ukraine that looks as well like a petri dish. Yeah. So we have Israel also acting as a petri dish, and we have the Ukraine war also having the same kind of pattern. Yeah, and well, so we have to think, yeah, about also what is Zionism. I talk about the IDF, also of course the Israel state should exist, but we have the IDF for which the IDF for which the state of Israel, well, the IDF, which also is part of the state of Israel, but the state of Israel having Zionism. Yeah, what is Zionism? I mean, does the state of Israel can exist without Zionism? I think that's the question of the whole video, and I also make over an hour. Yeah, okay. Gonna put that as the title.